Hello everyone, well you wasn't expecting to see me pop up this morning, was you? I'm away in Tenerife at the moment, hopefully having a nice time, soaking up the atmosphere or soaking something up, I don't know. But no, I thought while I'm away I'd do a couple of surprise videos, so we're going to do like a duopoly 2, a twin set, if you like, of historic videos looking at the summers of the early 20s. So this is part 1 of our early 20s summers series, or summers of the early 20s series. You know what I mean? We're looking at 1921 for this one. Tomorrow you'll see 1922, without letting cats out of the bags. There will be another video popping up tomorrow as well, part 2 of this series. So if you're enjoying our content on the channel, admittedly it's not going to be that much this week because I'm having a holiday, but if you are enjoying what we are uploading, then please do you like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much everybody for doing that, and thank you so much to Vata for the archive of charts. That's where we are going to be showing you the data for both of these summers, 1921 and 1922. So thank you so much to the Historic Archive at bettercentral.d. And thank you so much to Trevor Harley as well. A lot of the information, all of the information that you hear in this video will be coming from Trevor Harley. And as I always say about the Historic Vids here on the channel, I'm like the smallest cog in the wheel. I just narrate the story, but it really is the information from Trevor Harley and combined with the archive of charts that make these historic vids what they are. So thank you so much to both of those resources. Links in the description, of course. Right, okay, let's do this then. So we're going to begin with 1921 for part 1 of this series, and let's do that then. So we're going to begin the storyline on the first day of May Day 1921, which was a relatively warm and dry month in the south. Trevor Harley writes, fairly warm and dry in the south, showery at times with snow in the north at first. The reason for that, of course, that drawing in these northerly winds. So we've got high pressure blocking around Greenland, Iceland, low pressure over Scandinavia. May 1921 has a central temperature of 11.5. Trevor Harley writes some warm days with light frost, 26 degrees at Norwich on the 13th and 27 at Weymouth on the 25th. Let's see what happens then. So we start off quite chilly with high pressure blocking around Greenland, Iceland, low pressure over Scandinavia and pulling down those cool to quite cold northerly winds. Bit of a northerly blast at the start of the month. We've got -5 Celsius iceberg here getting into Scotland. -10 Celsius iceberg is flirting away to the north of Scotland as well. And what happens after that? We get this area of low pressure developing within that cold flow. So rain in the south, probably cold up the snow in the north, though, on the northern side of that low pressure. Rather wintry start to May 1921. And then low pressure starts taking over from off the Atlantic. That brings cloud and outbreaks of rain in from west. I said it looks very unsettled. Trevor Harley says fairly warm and dry in the south, but to me that looks like a little bit of a May washout. Maybe some higher pressure will appear in a moment, but certainly the first week into the second week of May 1921 is dominated by low pressure. Now here comes some higher pressure starting to ridge in from the south, so this will be turning drier and warmer down across southern parts of the country. And this is the day where we get 26 degrees at Norwich, around 80 Fahrenheit. Definitely warmer now under that area of high pressure, of course. Beyond that, we go into a westerly flow. It brings unsettled weather into northwest Scotland in the south. We're still under a relatively high pressure. So we keep this duopoly going, this duel going between low pressure and high pressure, very typical of May, really, with high pressure towards the south, lots of dry weather there, low pressure, bringing more unsettled conditions up to the north, maybe a more strongly building area of high pressure when we get to towards the 25th of May. And this is when we get 27 degrees at Weymouth. Trevor Harley writes, it was sunnier than usual everywhere. There was a major geomagnetic storm, 13th to 15th as a result, a mass coronal ejection sparking a number of fires across the world. Goodness gracious me, how exciting, or maybe not. Hope no one was injured in those fires. We end May 1921 on a very unsettled note, another low pressure coming in off the Atlantic. Right, let's get into summer then. So this is how we begin the summer of 1921. And you will realise in a moment why I have picked 1921 for part one of this series. So we start here on the first day of June, first day of Beach Summer 1921, which is a very dry month. Joe Hardy writes there is no measurable rain at all in parts of Sussex all month. 31 degrees was recorded on the 17th, and 90 Fahrenheit. Manchester on the 25th has an overall central temperature of 14.7 this month, which is pretty warm, especially for back in that era. So here we go then. We start June 1921 and summer 1921 with a ridge of high pressure building up from the Azores. That's bringing lots of dry and warm weather with that area of high pressure dominating the weather over the top of the country throughout the first week. Upper air temperatures not that hot, so we've got plus 10 Celsius iceberg there in across the south. I would imagine this is getting temperatures solidly into like the upper teens, low 20s Celsius, something like that. Will certainly be quite a warm start to June 1921. Now on the 8th we've got a cold front coming in from the northwest. That could be bringing a little bit of showy rain. Then another area of low pressure there on the 9th brings some wet weather into the north. But basically high pressure is still dominating, especially across the more southern and also southwestern parts of the country. And the high pressure begins to fight back, begins to return as we get toward the middle part of June. So we've got this larger ridge now beginning to push in over top of the country, bringing loads of dry and warm or even very warm or possibly even quite hot weather. We have a look at upper air temperature, plus 10 Celsius iceberg is making it up into northern parts of England. 31 degrees recorded on this day, 17th, under this area of high pressure, so that's 88 Fahrenheit. But it's going to get even hotter than that into the final week of the month. Again, see how that high pressure sticks around the country, but it has pulled a little bit westwards here on the 19th, around something slightly cooler, maybe a little bit more showery as well, into the north and east there. So we do get a little bit of a northerly outbreak, which probably pulls the overall CET down a little bit. So that's the reason it's not an excessively warm CET. But all the time, that high pressure is sticking close to the south. From 23rd of June to 24th and 25th, that high pressure actually builds back in again. And this is when we get temperature to 90 Fahrenheit with a plus 15 Celsius iceberg now, making it into northern parts of France. Look how hot it is down across Spain and Portugal as well. So high pressure in control throughout the rest of the month, through the remainder of June 1921, dominated by high pressure up to the final day of the month. And then that takes us into July of 1921. And July 1921 is a very hot month, has a central temperature of 18.5, which, of course, even in this modern day, would be a very hot July central England temperature. We have had hotter, we have had Julys into the 19s, of course, over the last sort of 30, 40 years. But even today, we find a July CT of 18.5 very noteworthy. And Trevor Hardy writes, very sunny, very hot, 18.5 CT, and very dry, exacerbating the prolonged drought. So let's see what happens. We start off with high pressure dominating. It hasn't been very dry before this, by the way. So the prolonged drought, actually started much earlier on in the year. But we begin July 1921 with high pressure in control, in the ascendancy, sitting just to the north and northwest of the country. Upper air temperature actually lowered a little bit from where they were in June much of the time. So high pressure is dominating through the first week of July 1921, bringing lots of dry and fine weather. You see how the high pressure is repositioned as well, during the air, much more up from the Azores and whatnot there by the 6th of July to the 7th of July. Again, we see this high pressure well and truly in control. As ever, with our hot summer months, the Azores high is a very important player in all of this. The upper air temperatures are looking very warm. Got plus 10 Celsius iceberg heading up towards Iceland, for example. Some very extreme heat down across Spain and Portugal. We'll see whether we tap into any of that later on. A beautiful ridge, absolutely classic chart there by the 8th of July with that high pressure from the Azores into western parts of Europe as well on the 8th. Until the 9th, again, high pressure remains well and truly in control of the weather. The upper air temperatures are not excessively hot, but they are very warm, and because this high pressure has been going on for quite some time, a lot of high pressure in June, of course, it starts to create a feedback process. So I'd imagine by now we're seeing the temperatures going well into the 30s Celsius. In fact, this day, 10th of July 1921, gets the temperature to 34 degrees across eastern and southeastern parts of England. 34 is what, 94 Fahrenheit, something like that. Look at the upper air temperatures, the plus 15 Celsius iceberg is getting closer to southern parts of the country, plus 20 Celsius iceberg into the Bay of Biscay. So we'd be raising an eyebrow about that in this modern day, wouldn't we? 11th of July, again under this area of high pressure. Have a look at the upper air temperatures. Yes, plus 15 Celsius iceberg is into the south as well. So both of those days see temperatures reaching 34 degrees centigrade, which is into the mid-90s Fahrenheit. High pressure remaining in situ pretty much over the top of the country through to the 13th. Slightly cooler air mass coming into that area of high pressure, particularly into the northern east, but still very hot down in the south actually. Really close, about plus 15 Celsius iceberg. Still, even then, up to the middle of July, we've got a thundery low now starting to appear out to our west. So we're trying to break down that high pressure and bring some thunderstorms in from off the Atlantic Ocean. What's going to happen? Well, the high pressure is actually fighting back, and that low pressure is sinking down towards Biscay. So that probably brings a limited thundery breakdown into the west, but I doubt there's all that much in the way of rain over in the east. And by the 18th of July, we're pretty much back under high pressure again across the northern and western parts of Europe. Mostly dry, sunny and hot. Again, you see those upper air temperatures. They're looking very warm, if not hot, across many parts of the country. Absolutely classic charts these for a proper hot UK summer month. That's the 21st of July. Just trying to turn a little bit more unsettled up in the north. Maybe some cloud and rain into Scotland. But for England, Wales, Ireland, we're still under that big area of high pressure. No doubt still very warm, if not hot, dry and sunny as well. Trevor Hardy does right. Was unusually windy for such a hot, dry spell. I suppose that'd be particularly so up in the north. Now, this area of low pressure is trying to force a high pressure away to the south. So cooler air is beginning to move in to the north, and probably some showery outbreaks around. Doubt there's much rain getting down into the south. Will the high pressure fight back again? Well, as we come towards the final week of July, it looks like we're turning significantly more unsettled, especially so the way to our north and west. In the south and south, probably still not all that much in way of rain, but even there, I'd imagine it is feeling fresh. Look how the upper air temperatures are squeezing the heat away to our south and east as cooler, fresher air starts coming in from off the Atlantic Ocean. Going into the closing days of the month, turning very wet then. Look at this, deep area of low pressure coming in from the southwest. There is a lot of hot air associated with that area of low pressure. So this is probably the bungee breakdown that ends the month. Look how hot it is across most parts of Europe. Let's just go back with those upper air temperatures. So see from the 25th to the 26th to the 27th to the 28th of July how that heat gets drawn northwards, plus 20 Celsius iceberg into the Low Countries, Germany, Poland, probably lifting temperatures into the 100 Fahrenheit mark. This is 1921, remember, not 2021. But for us, that hot air actually acts to feed this area of low pressure. So I'd imagine this brings lots of heavy showers and thunderstorms with it, probably longer spells of rain as well. And by the time we get through to the end of this very hot July, we are looking a lot more Atlantic dominated with low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic. And that sets us up for a much more unsettled and cooler August. So August 1921, after that very hot July, CT 18.5, remember, only has a central temperature of 15.4. It's like 3 degrees cooler than the July before it. So as ever, August rather fickle month, and after those very dry June and July, that very dry July combination, we go into a much more unsettled month. Trevor Hart writes, a poor August in a dry year. It was generally wet and unsettled, particularly in the west, although not too bad in the southeast. The month started well with 82 Fahrenheit at Margate in Yarmouth on the bank holiday the bank holiday on the 1st. This day. Okay, so this day was still, even despite the more unsettled flavour, we're still managing to get the temperature to around 82 Fahrenheit, so that's around 27, 28 Celsius. Still managing to get temperatures into the upper 20s Celsius here, despite the more unsettled flavour to the weather on this day, the bank holiday. Remember, back then, August bank holiday was at the start of the month, then it got moved to the end of the month, in more recent times. But back then, the August bank holiday would be the first Monday of the month rather than the final Monday of August. Anyway, very warm air into the southeast still there on the 1st of August. We go through to the 2nd, and that gets swept away by probably an active cold front coming in from the west of the northwest, bringing cooler, fresher air. See the upper air temperature becoming significantly cooler from the north and west as this heat is being shunted further and further east across the continent. So what does Trevor Harley have to say about that? There was some heavy and widespread thunderstorms in northern and central regions on the 11th. We'll get to that in a moment. The 3 inches of rain fell in Polham, Norfolk on the 13th. Half an inch of rain fell in half an hour in a thunderstorm on the 23rd at Hampstead Heath in London. It sounds like it's quite a thundery month, to be honest, this. And probably that is a reflection of the warmth and the heat that we've had through the earlier part of the summer. The sea surface temperatures, would be, the sea temperatures would be very warm and whatnot after all of that warm, dry weather from June and July. So we go through the first week of August 1921, looking rather wet and windy, low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic, bringing spells of rain, particularly to the north, but also some rain will be getting through into the south. Although Trevor Harley does say that, in contrast, there's only 12 millimetres throughout the whole month in Walton-on-Naze. So I'm not sure where that is, but it sounds like they had a pretty dry August despite these unsettled weather patterns. But generally, this looks like a much more unsettled and cooler month with low pressure. I'm so sorry, but low pressure dominating the weather, regularly coming in, brings spells of rain and thundery showers in between another major area of low pressure around the 16th of August, that bringing more wet and windy weather in from off Atlantic. Now, the 18th, we've got a bit of a build of higher pressure from the Azores. The Azores high getting back involved in the weather pattern, so higher pressure reaching up from the southwest, being increasingly dry and warm conditions, but not for long. We've got low pressure then to our south and southeast. That will bring lots of heavy rain and thunderstorms into more southern, southeastern parts of the country. Moving into a final week of August, we still keep this Atlantic flow going, so a rather disappointing end to what had hitherto been a hot summer. And so looking to get to the end of August 1921 with high pressure to the east of the country and low pressure is out to the west. That takes us on into September. Now in September, I think the high pressure is going to come back, because Trevor Harley writes a warm, dry, sunny month. A very warm start, culminating in 30 degrees at Southend on the 9th. Aldershot recorded 26 degrees on the 3rd. So let's have a look at that. We start off with an area of low pressure at the beginning of September 1921, but high pressure, yes, it is reaching back up from the southwest, returning us to mostly dry weather. This month, by the way, has central temperature of 14.1, which isn't that far from like the modern day average, really, but what would probably have been quite a warm September for this era. So here we are, 7th of September, high pressure won't truly in control. Upper air temperatures looking pretty warm as well, plus 10 Celsius, isotherm dominating weather. A deeper area of low pressure there as we get through to the night. That brings some wet windy weather into the north and west, pretty mostly dry though down in the south. And then we're looking increasingly unsettled up towards the middle of September, especially so for the north, but higher pressure is still in control of weather down in the south. That's a extra tropical feature, by the way. That's the remains of a hurricane and or tropical storm there in the North Atlantic. High pressure dominating the weather through into the middle and second half of the month over Scandinavia, bringing in these warm southerly southeasterly winds. I doubt there's much rain going on here, so after the more unsettled September, we're definitely back to settled conditions again. Trevor Hardy writes, the only real relief from a great drought of 1921 came on the 11th, when 25 millimetres of rain fell across large areas of the south. Let's quickly go back to see how that happened then. So it's this area of low pressure to north of Scotland, probably some sort of cold front coming across the country that kind of gets held up and develops a wave type feature, I would imagine. Doesn't look that impressive, but it sounds like it was quite a wet day. But we're back to high pressure anyway into the second half of the month. High and dry through into the 23rd of September. Autumn equinox bring lots of dry, fine weather to the south. Upper air temperatures still looking very warm across most parts of the coast. Remember, in September, upper air temperatures don't tell you everything. You can get cooler nights in September, which pulls down the overall CT, even if the days are quite warm and sunny. But the high pressure fest continues into the final week of the month as well, into the closing days of September 1921, with high pressure dominating the weather. Looks like it's going nowhere fast. That's the last day of September. And then we're on into October, and Trevor Hardy writes, heat wave. It's a heat wave. Burn like heat wave. Sorry, pretty. The high of 28.9 degrees in London on the 5th and 6th remained a record maximum for October until 1985. It is still the record warmest day so late in the year this century. The high of 27.8 degrees in London on the 9th is the latest date in the year when 18 Fahrenheit was reached anywhere in the UK. The heat wave was prolonged over several days. 25 degrees was exceeded 8 times in the first 10 days. Wow, wow, wow. And temperatures at Brighton on the night of the 1st and the 2nd did not fall below 17.2 Celsius, 63 Fahrenheit. Later on, 24 degrees was reported in several locations in the southeast on the 18th. Generally fine, sunny and extremely dry, but with some exceptions. So let's have a look and see what happens then. We start off with low pressure out to the west. High pressure is over on the continent. We're still drawing at wind from the south. What goes on? Let's see. High pressure is in the ascendancy as we're going through the first week of the month. Sitting generally just to our east. Low pressure out to west. So that's pumping up these very warm and or hot southerly winds. Let's have a look at the upper air temperatures. Look at that. Plus 10 Celsius iceberg has cleared northern Scotland, but plus 15 Celsius iceberg is into northern parts of France and heading into the channel there on the 5th of October 1921. Goodness gracious me. Trevor Hardy says, generally fine, sunny and dry, but with some exceptions, thundery outbreaks early on. 63 millimetres at Oswestry on the 3rd. Flooding in Lochaber, I think that is, on the 5th. Cooler second week with some locally heavy rain. Okay, so we've got a heat wave here going on for the first week of October 1921 with some very, very impressive temperatures, but we keep those southerly winds going up to the 8th as well. Again, the upper air temperature with a plus 15 Celsius into southwestern parts of England. Absolutely remarkable, this. Absolutely incredible for October. This is October, remember, everyone. Not July, this is October. We've already had a very hot July as well, by the way. This October has a central temperature of 12.8, so it is, even in the modern day, that would be impressively warm, to be honest. We're into the second week of the month. High pressure is still in the ascendancy, still very much in control of the weather. Overall, it is the 4th warmest October on record with a CT of 12.8 after 2001, the warmest, 1969, and 1995. The sunniest October on record with sunshine 41% above average, and you can see the reason why. All this high pressure just continuously dominating the weather throughout this October. We're up to the 15th now, large high, still in control of 10 cells isoform there across the country. Notice the blue colours appearing up in the northern latitude, so autumn is developing. It is descending across Greenland and within the Arctic regions as cold air is massing up there. So the longer this goes on, the more pressure this area of high pressure is going to be put under. So we're up to the 17th of October, of my birthday, but I'm not that old, I wasn't born then. But still, the high pressure dominates over to East Country, still draw up those warm southerly winds. A little bit more unsettled with this area of low pressure by the 18th of October. But fundamentally, especially for the south, high pressure goes on. Now, this does look more unsettled. It's 22nd of October. I reckon that could be bringing rain even down across more southern parts of the country. Cold air starting to get drawn into northern Scotland, still relatively warm though down in the south. And then we get through to the 24th, still that high pressure dominating into the last week of the month. Yes, the high pressure fest goes on. It is a cooler air mass we've got now, though it has, even now, it's still got the plus 10 cells iceberg holding on in the south and in the southwest, but this high pressure being put under more pressure. So by the time you get through to month's end, to Halloween, 31st of October 1921, just starting to bring some colder air into the north as the high pressure is beginning to retreat away to the south. So we've got to do November before we wrap this one up, haven't we? And November 1921 has a central temperature of 4.6. It's cold. We have a cold November. Joe Harley writes, cold and dry after a stormy start. And there's some snow mid-month. Well, let's see what happens then. Well, of course, we've got this deep storm over Scandinavia, so that will be bringing severe gales into the far north and northeast of the country. Still high pressure trying to cling on, although it is being pushed out into the Atlantic by this area of low pressure that's bringing wind and rain in from off the Atlantic. Now, here comes the cold air from the north by the 5th to the 6th, by bonfire night to the 6th of November. Cold air pushing down from the north. The upper air temperature bringing minus 5 Celsius iceberg southwards. Remember, just a couple of weeks ago, we got plus 15 Celsius iceberg wafting into southern southwestern parts of the country. Now we've got minus 5 Celsius iceberg plunging southwards. What a dramatic swing this must have been. Goodness gracious me, I bet people really knew it after all that warm weather through the summer and the autumn. So proper northerly here through the first week of November 1921, but minus 10 Celsius isotherm is actually making it into Scotland. Can you believe that, everyone? Wow, 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 wow. I don't know. Trevor Harley says there was persistent dense fog over much of England from the 19th, 21st, and in London from the 27th to the 28th. Remember, this is the era where we're still getting those great smogs taking place. No, we'll get onto that in a moment. I imagine it will be under an area of high pressure that happens. I'm so sorry once again, everyone. So high pressure now slipping a little bit further southeast was allowed some milder air to come in from off the Atlantic to the north and west. But in the southeast, we're actually under high pressure, so anticyclonic, probably mostly dry, cold and frosting during this period. So Harley does say that there are sunny days with some frosty nights. Now, we've got Scandi going here by the 11th. We've got wind in from the east. Let's look at the upper air temperatures. So I've got a puddle of cold air coming in from the east on those easterly winds. Low pressure in from off the Atlantic coming up against that cold air. I wonder if this is where some of the snow might come from. The upper air temperatures don't really support that. So let's see what happens by the 15th, 16th. Yeah, we've got a real battle going on. High pressure is over Scandinavia, and it's actually Siberian high now, really, over Russia, with low pressure desperately trying to come in from off the Atlantic. Upper air temperature still looking relatively mild up to that point. And then the high pressure just takes over from the east and builds in strongly. So this presumably is where the smog is coming from. But Trevor Harley says occur between the 19th and the 21st with this area of high pressure. Looks like it will be quite breezy, doesn't it? So I'm surprised there's all that much in the way of smog going on. But anyway, yes, high pressure dominates the weather. Cold, dense fog and smog. Atrocious air quality, I'm quite sure. Beyond that, we start turning milder with wind drifting up from the south, but I don't think that's going to last very long because we go back to those sort of smog type conditions by the 27th to the 28th as a rather slack gradients. The smog returns to London. That's how you finish up November 1921. High pressure over Scandinavia and low pressure out to our west. And that's where we're going to end part 1, everyone. So I hope you found it interesting and informative, this video looking at the very warm year 1921. By the way, let me just get my notes back because I've got to tell you that we had a yearly CT for 1921. We had a yearly CT of 10.5, which for that era is exceptionally hot. That's kind of like the yearly CTs we get now, you know, every year. But back then, that was a really hot year, 10.5. And also, as we've explained, very, very dry as well. I tell you, the winter of 1921, 1922 was generally quite mild. There wasn't much going on in terms of cold weather. And we're going to pick the storyline back up in part 2 of this double act of this not a trilogy, it's like a duopoly, isn't it? This duo of videos. In part 2 tomorrow, we're going to pick it back up for the summer and into the autumn of 1922, and you will see very, 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 very different charts tomorrow, and I shall I shall say no more than that. But for part 1 of our summers and also autumns of the early 1920s series, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow with part 2 looking at 1922. See you then.